Hey there, this is Mario from shockingfit.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about what to do when you overeat. How do you prevent gaining weight when you binge or when you end up eating a lot more than you planned? So I'm here in the harbor. It's called the Canada Place in Vancouver, and it's a little bit Canadian, as you might have seen on that shot there, but it's all surrounded by Canadian flags, and I feel myself becoming a little bit Canadian here in Vancouver. But I still wanted to come to this place and shoot a video for you guys. And the topic that I just mentioned is basically something I've been asked a lot lately, because there's Thanksgiving here in Canada and Thanksgiving in the United States, and there were a lot of holidays coming up. Basically, a lot of people are wondering, okay, I'm probably gonna have to binge or overeat, I'm gonna be either forced or it's just gonna happen, life happens. So what do I do to avoid gaining weight when that scenario happens? So here's a few tricks and tips how to actually manage that, right? So the tip number one I would have for you is, if it happens, when it happens, is to simply become aware of it and just say, okay, look, it's fine, it happened, and you don't want to identify yourself as a person who is like a failure, right? You don't want to identify that single event as a complete failure to your diet, because I see a lot of people, one binge led to like a series of binges and events that kind of prevented them from holding on to the diet, and it all turned into like a chain reaction and end up blowing like months and months of hard work in a few weeks period, right? So the first thing you want to do is isolate that and make sure that it's like one single event, that it's not something that you want to completely identify yourself with or even judge yourself too much for it. We're human, right? And it's normal, and that shit is always going to happen. There's no matter how much willpower you have, how many habits you have built up, or I don't know how self-developed you are, you're always going to end up in a moment of weakness where you're not going to be emotionally strong enough to say no, and you're also going to be peer pressured, and especially during holidays. So basically, when it happens, okay, it happened, fuck it, done. Just learn from it what you can and forget about it. But here's some stuff that you can actually do. So this would be kind of the tip number two. So once you end up eating a little bit more calories, what you can do is simply spread out that extra calories that you had over a course of a few days. So this is called, I would say, borrowing calories, right? You want to borrow a little bit of calories from the upcoming few days, and then you spend them on that single day when there's like a party or something going on, and then you spend those calories on that particular day. So it's really cool to do this, and this is in like terms of nutrition, it's called non-linear dieting, where you were kind of like more flexible, right? We all know that it's basically, okay, you need to count your calories, you have your daily intake, you have your deficit, you have your surplus, all these things, right? But what most people don't do is they don't look at it on a weekly basis. Rather, they try to look at it on a micro level, on a daily basis. So it becomes a lot more stressful and complicated than if you just kind of zoom out a little bit and start looking at your calorie intake on a weekly basis. So this means that you simply say, okay, if I fucked up on Friday, I can simply reduce my intake by, let's say, 10% or 5 to 10% on the next few days to compensate for that increase, that surplus that happened on Friday. So this way you can still continue losing weight, still stick to your diet, and nothing bad will happen, right? You won't ruin any results because your weekly average of how much you were in a deficit is the same, right? It doesn't matter. And a few tips regarding this is that if you do end up reducing your calories, don't go too hard, right? Let's say you binge for 1,000 calories, right? That's a big ass binge, but let's say you did that, and you don't want to do like the next day and cut off 800 calories or 500 calories on that single day, right? Because it's gonna make you feel horrible, and especially if it's your workout day, your performance will suffer, and you're just going to be mentally drained and all these things. So what you want to do with 1,000 calories, for example, is cut it into like bits of maybe 200 to 300 calories and spread it over a course of a few days, and that's going to make it a little bit more sustainable, so you can still get your results, still put up really high numbers in the gym, like still be strong and get your weekly deficit. That's going to allow you to lose on average that week the sweet spot amount that we mention always. It's between like half a kilo to a kilo, or let's say like, I don't know, a pound to 2 pounds if you're using the US metric system. So basically these two tips. And the third final tip I would say on binges and all of that is the only way to actually prevent it is to add your favorite foods into the diet. So a lot of the, I guess, self-help advice that you're gonna hear, and a lot of advice that I guess advocates toughness, you know, like you want to suppress all the bad negative stuff, you want to suppress all the thoughts that are telling you to have like massive amounts of chocolate or something. I mean, that works, but it works only short term. And what happens when you actually try to suppress your favorite foods is that your mind will give more value to those foods, right? It's the same thing as if I told someone, okay, I didn't have chocolate for 5 years, right? I mean, it would be a pretty damn big deal to me. But let's say if I had chocolate yesterday and if I didn't have it today, it wouldn't be such a big deal, right? So instead of me completely blocking it out and completely saying no, if I do have that massive craving for it, I'm gonna try to include that in my diet to a degree where it's like about maybe 5 to 10% of my caloric intake spent on those really highly palatable foods that I really enjoy. And that's going to allow me to sustainably enjoy my diet, enjoy my social life as well at the same time as getting my results. So that's the final tip there, is basically try to include, even be a little bit proactive when you're having those massive cravings, instead of spending massive amounts of willpower on trying to like mitigate the damage and trying to like suppress the thoughts violently, and those thoughts like have chocolate, have some sugar, have this, have that. I mean, they will not end until you actually slowly start progressively cutting it down and reducing the amounts and start to control, rather than like completely cut it out or completely go into it. So instead of avoiding those extremes, you want to try to like be more objective and more realistic. Like try to look at more like the objective reality. Okay, how much chocolate can I get away with, right? How much cheesecake can I eat today while still fitting in my calories? So these kind of things, right? It makes you more objective because you're more left brain oriented, and then just by working those numbers, you're gonna kind of putting yourself out of that emotional mind where your right brain doesn't have control over you. You're not gonna act on impulse anymore because you've kind of looking at long term, you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at the math, and you're still enjoying food. So those would be my tips: how to avoid gaining weight when you binge, what to do, how to manage your diet during the holiday period. Hope you guys got out of it. If you have an idea about the same kind of management of the calorie surplus or when you overeat, leave it below in the comments. I'm also curious, what are you planning to do for this holiday? What are some of the holidays, I guess, what happened last holiday? I mean, did you gain weight? Did you lose weight? I'm kind of interested in that. So leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think, and how you plan to survive on this period, or you just plan to let loose completely and fuck the diet, or you just kind of say, okay, I'm going to try to do my best. So I'm curious. So shoot me a comment. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to click like on the damn video below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.